Welcome back. I hope you're still with me here. I know we've covered a lot of information recently, and so today we're going to talk more about the mental side of YouTube, such as how to stay motivated and how to deal with haters. Because although this course covers all the technical stuff you need, you also need the right mentality and mindset, and a lot of people overlook how important that element is to YouTube success. Because let's start with an undeniable truth. The beginning is the hardest part with YouTube. So we're going to start the training off with 6 reasons to stay motivated and keep going. Here's a little video for that.
YouTube is a mountain, and although it's a long way to the top, everyone starts at the same place. Those creators were all once where you are now. And if you can just make it halfway up the mountain, the YouTube algorithm can pretty much carry you to the peak. That can be you unboxing your award. That can be you that people look up to and aspire to. That can be you creating content that millions of people watch and love. The problem is though, even though we all know about the money, the influence and the lifestyle that YouTube can bring, when you're near the bottom of that mountain, it can be really hard to stay motivated. You're seeing other channels blow up. Some of them aren't even that good and you're wondering, why not me? I'm putting in the work, I'm putting in the time. Well, bookmark this video, watch it every morning, and you'll never be unmotivated about YouTube again. Here's 6 reasons why. Number 1, every video you create is a digital asset. Unlike other social media platforms where your content is dead within 48 hours, YouTube videos can be evergreen and bring you traffic for potentially years to come. And so, even if your videos don't take off right away, they still can. Look at this example from my channel. Nothing, 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 boom. And just imagine when you have a whole library of old videos. It's like releasing your own personal army of content, which will bring you a continual supply of views, subscribers, and totally automated passive income. But this brings us to another reason to stay motivated. Number 2, you're only one video away.
Is this real life?
Yeah, this is real life.
One video away from a viral hit. One video away from your entire channel blowing up. As ridiculous as that may sound, I know so many channels who've made it big because of one video. And so when you bear that in mind, why would you not pour your heart into every video? Why would you not create as much content as you can? Which leads us to this. Number 3, the money. Let's just remember, there is no limit on the amount of money you can earn with YouTube. Clark here made nearly $18,000 from a single video. One video. When you know that one video can earn you that much, surely you're gonna wanna make more videos. And let's look at Kevin David's stats here. He made over $400,000 last year in YouTube ad revenue. And again, this is just the ad revenue, not even factoring in the countless other ways you can monetize your YouTube influence. I mean, you can call me shallow, but knowing how much money it's possible to earn from creating content, I think that's incredibly motivating. I mean, take a screenshot and pin that to your wall so you can see it every time you're considering skipping a video. Number 4, YouTube's growth is not linear. It's exponential. I'll hand over to an old clip of Mr. Beast for this one.
Yeah, it took me over a year to get my first 1,000 subscribers. Like a year and a half. Took like almost a year to get the second 1,000.
Of course, he now has over 35 million subscribers. But even on a smaller scale, I've seen this myself. It took over a year to get 100,000 views, then the next 50,000 happened in less than 2 months. Your channel is like a snowball building up momentum. The beginning, the getting started, is always way harder. It could take you a year to go from 0 to 1,000 subs, but then a year to go from 1,000 to 100,000, as long as you keep going and keep building that momentum on your channel like all the big creators you admire have done. Number 5, it's supposed to be hard. This one sounds weird, I know, but to get to the top of anything in life, to reach the apex, it's gonna be a challenge. Not everyone can make a full-time living creating videos. It's an incredibly desirable life that can be a lot of fun, so it has to be difficult to get there. It has to be a real test. View YouTube as a game though, and every day, every video, you're leveling up a little more, improving a bit more, growing a bit more. Remember though, it should be fun. You can make videos on whatever you want, so yes, it's hard, but the journey should be exciting as well. And if it's not, that's normally a sign to change up the type of content you're making. But you've also got to remember number 6, you're already winning. Just by being a creator on the platform, you're already ahead of the vast majority of the world's population who only consume content. Just by having one random stranger you've never met watch a video of yours, that's a victory. We've lost sight of how great those small wins actually are because we see people who've been making videos for many, many years and they're getting millions of views, but even though this may sound a little cheesy, even if you're just impacting one person, that's still pretty cool, right? And of course, you're probably impacting a lot more than one person. Look at your total views and imagine that many people all sat together in a room watching your content. Each one of those people chose to watch your videos. Each subscriber chose your channel out of the millions and millions of options. And sure, keep in mind that end goal, the big crazy numbers we all dream of. But just don't lose sight of how much you've already achieved, as that can definitely motivate you to keep going for all your fans who love what you're doing right now. Just remember, do not give up before you hit the tipping point of YouTube success. You're probably a lot closer than you think. You've got this.
So, firstly, you'll notice that was my attempt at some infotainment for you. Information delivered in, hopefully, a more entertaining way. And using the previous training, you can 100% make videos just like that one if you wanted. But anyway, let's recap those 6 mindsets, as there's some extra points I want to add to each one that can hopefully help you even more. So the first thing we said was that YouTube's growth is not linear, it's exponential. And for this, just look at Evan Carmichael. It took him 5 years to get his first 7,000 subscribers. And then in the next 5 years, he got over 2 million subscribers. Now, don't worry, with these strategies we're going to talk about in the next module, you'll get your first few thousand subscribers much quicker than that. But the underlying message there is very applicable. The first few thousand subscribers are always the hardest. It's the same with almost anyone on YouTube. They have to put the groundwork in before that snowball effect kicks in. There are no real overnight successes, you just don't see the work that goes in before that crazy viral growth. So, just like all those people who've blown up, you can too, and you will if you stick with it and keep going. Don't worry about comparing yourself with others or worrying that you're not getting instant results, because it's almost like the algorithm is looking for who's really serious about this and who's going to stick this out. That's who they actually want to promote. The second mindset we talked about then was that you're only one video away. Whenever you're doubting whether to skip making a video, just remember this point. YouTube judges each video individually. Even if all your other videos have totally bombed, the next one really could be the one. And look, it's totally normal for motivation levels to dip. But shiny object syndrome is a killer that I see so often. People not getting results as quick as they want, so they move on to something else and never give anything long enough to really reach that tipping point of success. And all of this reminds me of the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. Now, like with any plant, the Chinese bamboo tree, it needs nurturing. Water, fertile soil, sunshine. But even if you do that, in the first year, you'll see no visible signs of activity. In fact, in the second year, again, no growth above the soil. The third, the fourth year, still nothing. So you're questioning, what's even the point? However, in the 5th year, the Chinese bamboo tree grows 80 feet in 6 weeks. But does the Chinese bamboo tree really grow 80 feet in 6 weeks? Or was it growing underneath the soil the whole time, developing a root system strong enough to support its potential outward growth in the 5th year and beyond? Very similar principle with YouTube and being only one video away. It may seem like nothing's been working, but you've been laying that groundwork. So don't stop watering your tree, or your channel in this case, before you see that explosive outward growth. You may be closer than you think. But then the third mindset we mentioned in the video is that every video you create is a digital asset. Each video can be bringing you new paying clients for potentially years to come. So just imagine once you have a library of optimized videos. Fourth thing then, the money. You saw in the video how much money you can make just from ads. But remember, we're going to be using our YouTube videos to bring in high ticket clients who want to work with us and customers who want to buy from us. And so once we add in all those extra revenue streams, there is literally limitless earning potential with YouTube, which I think should always keep you motivated. A fifth thing to keep you motivated is the reality that it's supposed to be kinda hard. Just to add on what was said in the video, YouTube is meant to be a challenge and a test, and there will be walls you hit on the way, but the only real difference between those who succeed with it and those who don't is that those who succeed push on even when it's feeling difficult and when it's feeling slower than they wanted. And I do appreciate that YouTube can be time consuming. The thing is though, if we ever say we're too busy for anything, all that really means is that it isn't one of our main priorities, because if it was and we really cared about that thing enough, we'd make time for it and sacrifice something else. And so with YouTube, if you find yourself saying you're too busy for it, it's probably a case of priorities. So remember, it's supposed to be difficult, but it will be worth it. And then the sixth mindset we mentioned in that video is that you're already winning. And the tactic actually mentioned in that video of imagining all your viewers in one room really puts things in perspective, I think, when we see them as people and not just a number. And even if you've literally just posted one video and you've only got one new viewer right now, that's still one stranger who chose to watch your content out of the millions of options. So yes, let's obviously aim big, but just by creating this type of content at all, you are impacting people's lives. Don't forget that. And remember, the power of each YouTube video and each YouTube subscriber is so much greater than the equivalent of a post on other social media platforms or a follower on other social media platforms. A subscriber on YouTube definitely means a lot more in my opinion. That's someone who has chosen your channel and wanting to spend more of their time watching your stuff. So let's now talk about a few extra practical ways to stay motivated. Other than watching this training again, one of the best ways to keep motivation up is the stuff we talked about all the way back in training 1.2 of this course. But in particular, one point we discussed was a success list to track your victories and your successes. Well, I actually think it's wise to make a list specifically for YouTube successes. Because the reality is, it's easy to dwell on any negatives and massively overlook all the overwhelming positives and the progress that you make. So I'd recommend making a success list for YouTube with the milestones you reach, the nice comments you get, the progress you make, the things you learn, and so on. In fact, all those nice comments you get are actually going to be able to be used as testimonials for the products you say later on. So it's a double win, as well as keeping you motivated. But I'm saying this because I think it's important to celebrate the little wins along the way with YouTube, because there'll always be a next level to hit. So sometimes it's good to just take time to appreciate where you've got to already. Plus, it's always really interesting to read that success list back later down the line. And again, it's just kind of a visual representation of how much progress you've actually made, because sometimes we take that for granted. So I think that's a very useful thing to do. But another practical way to stay motivated is to give yourself some accountability. For example, tell your audience or people you know who you really respect that you're going to post X amount in the next month. Because once you've said that and you've put that out there, you're not going to want to let them down. You're going to be pumped to hit that milestone you've set. And again, all those things we mentioned in training 1.2 are going to be super helpful here, like adding in rewards and forfeits for not completing the milestone that you set. And finally, whenever my motivation dips, I always find it helpful to go and read an autobiography of someone successful. Or if you really need a break, watch an entrepreneurial movie. The Founder is a perfect one. It's not only an entertaining film, but it'll get you psyched about building a business. Wolf of Wall Street, that's a fun one too. Or perhaps a more specific tactic than movies or books is going to look back at YouTubers you really like, look at their early videos when they were starting out, because seeing where they are now and where they were then, that'll motivate you and remind you that you can do that as well. So all of these different things can help reignite that motivation. However, despite all these different motivation tips and mindsets, sometimes you might still feel a little burnt out with YouTube. And there's two options if that happens. The first is to change your content up a bit. Deliberately make it more fun for yourself, even if that strays away slightly from what you've been doing so far. The second thing though, is to schedule a short break if it's needed. Because YouTube can kind of consume you once you get in depth with this stuff. I know personally, I've got a bit obsessed with stats in the past. And so, although consistent uploading is good, if you do really need a break, even if it's just a week off, you tend to come back fresher and more motivated afterwards, which long term I think is a really good thing because your audience will sense that in your content as well. So if it's needed, don't be afraid to just have a little bit of a break from it. You know, your channel isn't gonna die overnight just because of that. But now the final thing we need to talk about on this topic of staying motivated is the question of, is YouTube dying? Because I've actually heard several people saying, you know, that YouTube's just not worth it anymore. It's not as good. It's on the decline. All of this different stuff. But in my opinion, the answer is quite categoric here. No, YouTube is definitely not dying. It's growing still. Let's be honest, they have a monopoly. And it's very hard for anyone to compete realistically. So yes, YouTube is 100% worth your attention and time, which I realize is pretty obvious, and you probably feel the same if you're in this course. But the reason I just wanted to clarify this so explicitly is because obviously if you hear people saying things like this, then it can maybe dent your own motivation a little bit of thinking, oh, well, maybe I should hedge my bets a bit with YouTube and not fully focus on it. But in my opinion, that's a ridiculous way to look at it. YouTube is still an incredible opportunity. So please don't listen to those kind of comments. I do know why those comments happen though. And we're now going to address the reasons for them. One of the big ones is the whole adpocalypse episode that happened, which was where channels were getting more and more videos demonetized. And my answer to this is that if you follow the YouTube rules, you really shouldn't get demonetized. The only video I've ever had demonetized out of hundreds of videos is one where in the first 20 seconds I said, let's find out how to build an empire selling cocaine. So I can't really complain about that being demonetized. Just as a side note, it was a video on Pablo Escobar. I haven't gone totally insane. But like I said, I haven't had any other videos demonetized, and I'm confident if you follow the tips we're going to talk about later, and you follow the YouTube rules, you're not going to have many videos demonetized either. And even if you did, the reality is that we're going to be discussing so many other ways to monetize, many of which are vastly more profitable. So it wouldn't really matter anyway, because we're approaching YouTube like a YouTube magnate, not just a YouTuber. And that means that all of this demonetization stuff, even if it did affect you, it wouldn't be an issue because you're going to be making much more money from all these different other revenue streams that aren't affected. So that's not an issue at all. Another reason that sometimes people complain about YouTube and say that maybe it's dying or not as good is because of the copyright system. But after the previous training, you already know how to be on the right side of copyright now. And once you know that, you realize things aren't that bad at all. So again, that's not an issue. Another thing was copper. Some people got really freaked out by the whole not for kids thing. But the reality is, those limitations only apply to videos specifically made for kids, which yours aren't going to be. It doesn't include videos that could be watched by kids. It's talking about videos specifically made for kids. And so you'll be able to mark your whole channel as not for kids because you won't be doing that. So the whole copper thing is not an issue either. And the final reason that sometimes people complain about YouTube is because they've made some weird decisions, a lot of which weren't really their own choice. It was kind of forced by law. But the bottom line is that whilst other people are complaining about YouTube's decisions, you should be pressing on and capitalizing on this amazing opportunity. So hopefully that covers any concerns, but now that we've been through why and how to stay motivated and how to avoid burnout or quitting, there's one final thing we need to talk about when it comes to getting the right mindset for YouTube, and that is the topic of haters. Kind of a cringy word, I know, but this is actually a really important topic because the fear of what other people think really holds so many people back. And yet, I want to put forward to you a case that haters can actually be kind of a good thing. Here's why. Number one, if you have no haters at all, you're probably in the safe zone and in your own bubble. The thing is, anyone who is successful, whether with YouTube or just in life in general, will get haters no matter how great they are. So having haters is typically a sign you're growing and reaching a wider audience, because to reach the right people, you have to reach a few of the wrong people along the way as well. Second reason that haters can be a good thing. Haters tend to mean your content is polarizing, which is very, very good. Because polarizing content is how you attract people who love what you're doing and what you're saying, and people who will want to buy from you. And yes, you attract some haters in the process, but you can't be too safe and boring and vanilla with your content if you want to impact people and change people's lives and build a business from that. So haters are often a sign that you're making interesting content because you're getting such strong responses. So again, that's a sign that you're on the right path and you're doing something right. Third reason haters can be a good thing. In the eyes of the algorithm, negative comments and dislikes help your video. It all just counts as engagement. So the haters are actually kind of helping you grow your channel. And especially when your fans may jump in and defend you, that's all just adding more comments and boosting the engagement further. Fourth reason, you can use the haters as fuel. Not even just in a YouTube sense. Anyone who's doubted you and made you feel small in the past, prove them wrong. Use that as ammunition to keep going and to achieve some incredible things. Any negative things people have said to you or when they've told you you can't do something, that can light a fire inside you, so use that energy. And of course, it's even sweeter when their desperate attempts to hold you down end up inspiring you even more. So that's 4 reasons why having haters isn't a bad thing at all. We shouldn't fear it, we should welcome it, because all of those are good signs and good things to happen. You've just got to remember, when you get hate comments, it's not a bad reflection on you, it's a bad reflection on them. Clearly there's something wrong in their life. Because what type of people spend their own time leaving attacking, hateful comments for people posting free videos? I mean, for me, if I don't like a video, I click off it. I don't waste my day ranting about it. Honestly, most haters are typically living very depressing lives. They don't actually think they're better than you. They're scared you're better than them, so they want to pull you down to their low level. So don't let the haters win and stop you from achieving success and impacting and helping all those people who do love what you do. Don't focus on the negative minority who don't get it. Focus on those fans of yours who want more from you. It's not fair to deprive them of that because of some random strangers online who didn't like it and probably have a pretty miserable life. Of course, just a small caveat to all this. When I'm talking about haters, I'm not talking about constructive criticism, because not every negative comment is hate, and it's important to differentiate between the two, because constructive criticism and advice on what could be better, well, that's actually very useful and should be factored in when you're trying to improve. What we're talking about here is outright hate comments that aren't constructive at all. But finally, now that we know haters are inevitable on the path to success and are a sign that you're heading in the right direction, how do you deal with the haters? One strategy I like a lot is to kill them with kindness. Don't fight back, as that will just drain your time and energy and will be a battle that leads nowhere and makes you both look bad. Instead, take the moral high ground, just to make the hater look even more like an idiot. So you can reply something short and blasé like, "Oh, sorry you didn't get it, no worries, have a nice day." And I've actually seen it where haters then backtrack a bit. And maybe even you can convert them to becoming a fan, because they're often just venting their frustration at the world rather than actually expecting a reply or targeting you specifically. And obviously they won't always change their tune, but they're unlikely to keep being aggressive if you're continually being nice. So that can be a fun way of doing it. However, if they do continue to be aggressive and negative, just give up with them. It's not worth it. You have better things to do, unlike them. The second option though is just to ignore hate comments completely by realizing how meaningless they are. Because we take hate comments as an attack on us, but they don't know us. Just because they didn't like a few minutes of a video you did, that doesn't mean they actually know you or understand anything about you. Just because they personally disagree with a small element of something you did or said, doesn't mean their opinion should hold any weight. There's a quote I like from Rick and Morty on this. "Your boos mean nothing, I've seen what makes you cheer." And yet, for some reason, we take this random stranger's comment to heart. Another great quote is that you can be the ripest, juiciest peach, and there's still going to be somebody who hates peaches. You can't please all of the people all of the time. We just have to accept that hate comments aren't really personal, and that their opinion is irrelevant to us and our success. And I don't say this in a preachy kind of way of, oh, just don't let it bother you, because obviously all of our instincts are to fight back and lash out. But as someone who has done that and then wasted a whole afternoon with back and forth comments, I can quite safely say it doesn't help anything. So instead, now when I get a comment like that, something I try to ask myself is, will this still be bothering me in 5 years' time? Because if you picture the life you want in 5 years, and the answer is no, this comment won't matter to you at all, then it's not worth worrying about right now. So focus on that future you want instead, and focus on what you're working towards, and then it makes you realize how insignificant this random comment actually is. A very, very final strategy for dealing with haters though is to own your insecurities. If you make a joke of something, it takes away the power from them, and suddenly they're laughing with you, not at you. Because once something has been pointed out, it's not really an issue. You can just move past it. And this is true with small things, like if you messed up on filming part of the video, you can just make a joke and move past it. But it's also true of more personal things. For example, I heard of a guy with some really messed up teeth who was really worried about being on camera. But he owned his insecurities by making a quick joke at the start of the video. Something like, I may not be able to give you dental advice, but I can definitely help with X. And so not only does this self-deprecating humor make him more likable, it makes him more memorable. He's using it to his advantage. But of course, that's an extreme case. The vast majority of the time, people won't even notice any insecurities we have. It's all in our head. Nobody really cares how you look. They care about the content and what's in it for them. They want you to do well because they want to learn from you and be entertained by you. However, since we started this training with a video, we're going to end it with one too. One final way of letting hate comments go, which I've found to be very helpful. And here it is. That if you had $86,400 in your bank account, but someone finds a way to steal $10 from you, would you then throw the entirety of the rest of that money away? Would you be so frustrated and angry by that you just say, right, have the rest of it? No, of course not. But that's essentially what we do with our time. We spend 10 seconds reading a comment that we don't like and that kind of hurts us a little bit, but then we waste the remaining time of our day, 86,400 seconds, on thinking about it. We're giving them all that mental time that we could be focusing on other things that actually make us happy, but we focus it all on that negative thing. We can't let it go. And so we have to realize how ridiculous that is, and the money example just kind of highlights that, okay, we've read something for 10 seconds that made us feel down, I'm not going to waste any more time on that. And so there we have it. We've covered a lot in this module, lots of different techniques for staying motivated and the mindsets and mentalities that can help you be extremely successful on YouTube. And now we'll be going into the final part of module 2 in Training 2.7 with some next actions to actually start implementing some of this stuff from this module. But then we'll be into the really, really exciting stuff, which is growing your channel in Module 3 and monetizing it and scaling it in Modules 4 and 5. So I'm very excited to get to that, and I will see you there.